from your comfortable seat, you have to roll out your shoulders. You might choose one at a time or both. And take some deep breaths. And next time you inhale, shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. Pause your breath on full. Take another sip if you can. And through your mouth, sigh it out. Relax your shoulders. Relax your hands. And return to a natural breath, cultivating some awareness there. Noticing the senses and what they are bringing in. Sound in the distance. Sound closer by. Maybe you hear your breath. The temperature on your skin. A sensation of where your seat connects to whatever you're seated on. Noticing whatever's in your visual field, behind closed eyes or through a soft gaze. And for the next few breaths, noticing if there's room to let go, another space. Letting whatever sounds are happening just be as they are. Inviting a sense of presence and acceptance. And let's begin to deepen the breath. Inhaling all the way into your belly. And exhaling from your belly, squeezing it out. One more time, just like that. And focusing this time the inhale around the rib cage, widening the ribs. And squeezing the ribs toward each other on the exhale. One more big breath. Aware of chest and upper back and inhaling to those spaces. Exhaling from those spaces. One more time. And putting all three together, first inhaling to the belly, then the ribs, and then the chest and upper back. Pause on full, and then from top to bottom, release. Chest falls, ribs draw in, and belly squeezes back. 3-part breath, continuing a few more rounds. Is there room to do this practice, this 3-part breath, with a little less effort? Next time you've inhaled, pause on full. Sit up a little bit taller, lengthen the spine, and take another sip of air. Drop your shoulders down as you hold the breath in, and through your mouth, release. Bringing palms to touch and bowing your chin for a moment, natural breath. And calling into your experience an intention, a dedication for your practice. And in that 3-part breath, breathe that intention in. Pausing on full to let it circulate in your body, your mind, and your heart. And through your mouth, release it with any expectations. Namaste. Good, let's come all the way onto our backs, removing anything we're seated on. Yeah. And once you're there, find a little movement. You might like the great stretch. And then finding knees to chest. I like to rock a little side to side at the beginning of my practice to check in with my lower back. If there are other movements that feel exploratory, nourishing to you, you can find those with a deep breath. Good, and finding stillness, knees to chest. Plant your hands on your mat to the outside of your hips. And gently push your hands down into your mat. Feel your triceps engage, elbows push down, and shoulder blades push down. Good. Start to feel your core wake up, like you could curl your tailbone up toward the ceiling and flatten the lower back on the earth. Flex your feet and take an inhale as you straighten your legs. They don't have to be perfectly straight, just reach them up, and exhale, bend your knees. Good, keep all that engagement, hands pressing down, keep moving the legs, and continue to pull the tailbone up toward the ceiling and wake up the lowest part of your core. Good, with all this activity, hands pushing down, shoulder blades pushing down, core is awake. Is there room to do the movement with a little less effort? So we effort, but we want to balance it with ease. So we're not clenching our jaw or hiking our shoulders up or feeling a lot of tension. Just want to feel like we're working a little bit. Okay, last few times, this time, point your toes at the top. Different aspect of stretch, and then bend your knees. Keep pointing your toes at the top. Beautiful. Next time your legs are straight, pause there. Press your hands down, press your shoulder blades down, curl your tailbone up toward the ceiling. Good. This time, keep pointing your toes and then flex your toes and spread them. We're flointing our feet here. So balls of the feet are closer to the ceiling. Awesome. Take an inhale to widen your feet apart, spreading the legs as wide as you can. And then exhale, cross right foot behind left. Good. And then inhale, widen the legs. Exhale, left foot behind right. Good. Try and go in slow motion. Keep pushing arms and shoulders down. And keep some attention on your core. Good, even out both sides. And then bring your feet back together. If it's comfortable, let them touch and then squeeze your inner thighs toward each other. Good, this time we're gonna spiral. So start to make a circle with both feet. That circle traces the ceiling. Keep pushing down with your hands and shoulders. Maybe that circle starts to get bigger, spiraling legs out a little further. Beautiful. Start to spiral back into center, back to starting position, and then we'll switch directions. Circles start small and slow. And they keep being slow as you widen the circle out, spiraling out. Beautiful. Bend your knees, bring them to your chest. Give the knees a squeeze, an option to lift your head and chest toward your knees. Bundle pose. Big inhale here. Sighing exhale. Hold the posture, 2 more breaths. Sighing exhales. Squeezing navel in as you exhale. Good, then release your head down and plant your feet on the earth, knees bent. Feet can be hip distance. Elbows hug the rib cage on your mat. Elbows down, press them down. Good, bridge pose prep. So you can either make fists with your hands or fingers can be spread, whichever kind of creates a little more action in your hands. Wherever hands are, push your elbows down. Spread your toes and push your feet down. Inhale to lift your hips for bridge pose. Good, you can pause here if that feels good, or you can go through moving bridge, lowering your hips on the exhale, lifting on the inhale. We'll be here for about 8 breaths of time, choosing movement or stillness. Wherever you are in movement or stillness, draw shoulders away from ears and draw your shoulder blades closer together underneath your chest. Beautiful, 2 more breaths. Release your hips on an exhale. Pause for a moment. Bring your hands to your upper thighs and actively push your hands into your thighs, like you're trying to straighten your arms while pushing your thighs away. Good. You might notice that this creates a little traction in your lower spine. And hold here for 2 more breaths. Beautiful. Release that action and cross your left ankle over your right thigh. Figure 4. Flex both feet actively. And we'll do the same thing here in this position. So hands to the fronts of each thigh. It kind of will be more to your left inner thigh with your left hand. And actively push both thighs away. And then push both thighs back into your hands. Notice how your core lights up when you do that. Next option would be to lift your right foot off the earth for a lot more work. Good, actively pushing hands into thighs, thighs back into hands. Take a breath and release. Good, you can stay in this figure 4 for a moment and just find that stretch that you appreciate, that you like. I like my foot on the earth and just swaying side to side. You might interlace your fingers behind your right thigh and draw that knee a little closer. Good, let's release that pose, setting both feet down, and walk the feet nice and wide, windshield wiper knees side to side. Coming back to center, walk your feet hip distance and right ankle over left thigh. It's very active to start. Active feet, square hips. Sometimes the left hip wants to hike up a little bit to reach that knee, that right knee away in space. Just make sure they're even in the hips. Hands to the very tops of your thighs. Start to push your thighs away as you push your thighs back into your hands. This feels a little more accessible to me if I lift my left heel. Again, for a lot more work in your core, you might lift your left foot off the earth. Remember what we did, scooping tailbone towards ceiling. See if you can create that action here. And then release the pose, keep the figure 4, and find your stretch. One more full breath wherever you are. Release your pose. We're going to roll onto our right side. Knees can be a little bent, and you can cradle your head with your right arm if that feels comfortable. If not, you can always add a prop under your head. Good. I like my left hand just kind of tented fingers in front of me on the earth for stability. Flex both feet. Knees can be bent for now. We're going to create knee circles with that top leg. So left knee starts to make a big circle toward the ceiling. Good. You might notice that as that knee starts to come up toward the ceiling and then reaches behind, you feel like you might kind of fall back. So really plug that right knee down toward the earth and bring a little attention to strengthen your core. Whatever direction you've chosen, switch direction of your circles. Yeah, and then we're going to switch direction again. Original direction a few more times. Option to straighten that left leg for a little more challenge. Your circle might not be quite as big. And try and go in slow motion. Switch directions again. And take 2 more rounds. Good, come back to center, stack your knees, take a breath. And then this one might be a little tricky. Keep your left hand where it is, kind of like thread the needle. Bring your right hand underneath of your left arm and see if you can grab around your left rib cage. So right hand, left rib cage, kind of like you're giving yourself a hug from the floor. You can set your head down for now, just for a moment. And then set your left hand next to your right shoulder on the mat. So just pretty close to you. Tricep push-ups. So you're gonna do the best that you can. We're just gonna do 5. Flex your feet, strong core. Take an inhale. As you exhale, press your left hand down and try and lift your shoulders off the earth. Inhale to descend, lower down. We're laying on our side. Exhale, use your left hand, press it down to lift your shoulder off the earth. Good, 3 more. Beautiful. We're going to come all the way up so that we're kind of in a seat, kind of like side lying seat. So if you need to turn to face me, let's find that. So this is called 90-90. You might know this as deer. So unstack your knees, bring your right knee in front of you and your left foot behind you. So we're just kind of staggered in the legs. Not too important where exactly we are. Great. Right hand leans over a little bit. You can plant it to the earth and side stretch. Left arm up and over. Big inhale here. Full exhale. Inhale as you reach. And exhale, cartwheel through center. We're going to side stretch to the other side. So right arm comes up, left arm comes down. Good. Pause here, full breath. Going to do that a couple more times to each side. So flex your feet and take your time moving one direction and then finding the other. Beautiful. Take a moment, come back to center and find a twist. Left hand to right knee. Right hand can just come beside you for support. Flex your feet and breathe. When you're ready, releasing this pose, come down onto your back and then we'll roll to our left side. We'll do all of that on the other side. I'm going to turn around so you can still see me as we work, in case you need a reference. So roll into the left side, cradling your head with left hand or arm if that is comfortable. Bending your knees to start. Right hand on the earth for support. We're just going to start with knee circles. So right knee traces a big circle up toward the ceiling. And imagine you could glue that left knee, left hip, outer thigh to your mat. Switch directions of circles. Switch directions once again. Option to find a straight leg circle. This one might feel a lot trickier to balance. Keep gluing that outer left thigh to the earth. And switch directions. Good. Pause, bend your knees, take a moment. Good. Left hand to the outer right rib cage. You can set your head down for a moment. Right hand comes close to your left shoulder on the earth in front of you. Good. Flex your feet. Core is engaged, navel up and back. Inhale here. Exhale, push, push, push the earth away to lift left shoulder up off the earth. Inhale to come back down. 4 more times at your pace. Next time you've pushed off the earth, bring your left hand to the earth and crawl up to that side lying seat. Good. Unstack your knees. Bring your left shin a little bit further in front of you and find this sort of staggered position with hands or feet. Left hand to the outside of your left hip on the mat, side stretch. Good. Full breath here to start. Flex your feet. And then cartwheel through center, find the other side. Full breath here. Then twice more in both directions, your pace. When you're ready, sit up tall and find your twist. Right hand to left knee and left hand to the earth behind you. Good. Our action here is that we push down with our legs to lengthen our spine. So reaching your crown up toward the ceiling and slowly turning a little further into your twist. 2 more breaths. To unravel, come back to center. We're going to find tabletop pose. Whatever way makes sense to get there. Adding any cushion under knees if that's required here. Get organic movements, skanda. Finding what feels like therapy in this moment. Good, and downward facing dog when you're ready. If that's not in your practice today, child's pose is always welcome. From down dog, start to pedal out your legs. Draw your shoulders down your back and a little bend in your elbows as you push your mat away with your hands. Good, 2 more deep breaths. And let's bring right leg up and back when you're ready. So this can be done down dog or tabletop. Right leg straight back. Good, push the ground away from you with both hands and reach that right foot up toward the ceiling. Big breath in. Full exhale, find plank pose first. So knee to chest, shoulders over wrists, and then try and plant that right foot between your hands. However many steps as it takes. Low lunge, back knee down. Good, both feet press down powerfully, root to rise. Awesome. If this is plenty of work, you can stay here with hands on front thigh or to heart center. Otherwise, we'll reach arms forward. Unplug your arm bones first, kind of like rounding your back, like you're reaching forward. And then do the opposite. Pull your shoulder blades back, proud chest. Hands are a little wider than shoulders, and then reach them up. Awesome. We're going to add some movement here optionally. So you can stay as you are, or we'll inhale, keep arms straight, and try and raise your back knee, high lunge. As you exhale, lower your back knee, trident arms. Elbows bend, reach chest up. Just 2 more times. Inhale, maybe lift your back knee, reach arms up. Exhale, trident arms, reach down and back, knee down. 1 more time if you're moving. Beautiful. Both arms reach up, low lunge. Exhale, hands frame your front foot. Good. Then bring your right hand to the inside of your right foot and heel toe that foot out in space so that your leg is straight and the arch of your foot is on the earth. Beautiful. So straight leg just out toward the right. We're going to pulse back and forth here with our hips. Inhaling, chest leans forward, and exhale, hips sink back. Awesome, keep moving. It feels pretty good to me as I sink my hips back to raise my toes off the earth, point them up toward the ceiling, and then bring them back down as I lean forward. You might find that movement or whatever feels best. Good, let's pause. Shoulders over wrists, tabletop with the leg extended out. Take a big inhale. And as you exhale, try and lift that right foot off the earth. Bring it all the way behind you and see if you can set it down to the outside of your left foot. Good, so kind of like we're making a big rainbow arc in space behind us, reaching that right foot as far to the left as we can. Set your toes down. Good, might just feel a little complicated today. Do what you can. If this doesn't make sense, just do what feels good in your body. And our action here is that we really straighten our right leg and see if you can find a stretch anywhere from right armpit to right heel. To increase that, you might gaze over your left shoulder. See if you can gaze at your right heel. One more breath. Tabletop pose, both knees meet each other. Untuck your toes and hip circles. Choose a direction and swing your hips around. And you might remember what direction that you chose. We'll come back to center, widen the knees, curl your toes under, downward dog. Again, if some other pose feels better in this moment, feel free to take that. Or organic movement, optional vinyasa, or stillness. Tuning into breath. And then adding movement. Left leg up and back. Pause here for a full breath. We push the earth away as we reach that left toes toward the ceiling. On an exhale, knee to chest. See if you can find that plank pose, shoulders over wrists. Push the earth away, and then step your left foot between your hands, back knee down. Awesome. Feet are very active with the earth, so press the feet down, root to rise. Find your pose if this is challenging. Hands to heart center, fix your gaze. To add more, we reach our arms forward. And just to give us that sense of plugging the shoulders in, we first unplug our shoulders. So reach forward, around your back, overly, and then do the opposite. Plug your shoulders back and down, and then reach your arms up. Again, we can pause here, or we'll add our movement for more challenge. Inhale to extend your back leg, reach arms up. Exhale, low lunge, trident arms. 2 more times. Next time your knee is down, both arms reach up. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands frame your front foot, and then hands to the inside of your pose. Heel toe your left leg to straight out to the side. Awesome. So sinking hips forward and back. Inhaling forward, exhaling hips back. Maybe you spin your toes toward the ceiling as you come back. Good, let's pause. Hands or shoulders over hands. Lots of core support here. We're going to try and pick up that left foot and reach it all the way back and around over toward the right side of our body. Or right side of the room, rather. Good, find that stretch on left side body and maybe add a gaze over your right shoulder. Good, start to bend that left knee, bring it back to tabletop. Then bring your knees together, untuck your toes, hip circles toward the other direction. Whichever you did before, maybe find the other direction. If you don't remember, don't worry about it. Okay, let's pause in tabletop. Widen your knees to hip distance and curl your toes under. Good, walk your hands forward at least a full hand's distance and then lower your elbows down. Good, so we're kind of in a forearm plank here with our knees down. For more work, walk your knees back a little bit more. We want to be in a position where our hips and our shoulders are relatively in one line. So walking your knees back to feel that and to feel your core really engage. Bottom two, ribs up and in, press your elbows down, press your knees and feet down. Take a couple breaths. Awesome, walking your knees far enough back that on your next inhale, you can lower your hips down for Sphinx pose. Maybe untuck your toes, reach them back, chest proud and forward. And exhale, tuck your toes, come back to that forearm plank, knees down. Good, we'll keep moving between those two. Inhale, Sphinx pose, hips down, little back bend. Exhale, lift your hips off the earth, push your elbows down. Good, as you continue to move here, you might consider this action as in Sphinx pose, you're pressing your elbows down and pulling elbows toward your body. And for forearm plank, you're pushing your elbows down and away from your body. Let's do one more, full set. Next time you're in Sphinx, lower your chest and belly all the way down and find a comfortable position for a couple breaths. Beautiful. Pointing through your toes, tops of the feet are down shoelace side. And point your toes so much that your kneecaps start to engage, the quads engage. And point your toes so much that your feet start to lift off the earth. Your glutes engage. Beautiful. Maybe the fronts of your thighs start to peel off of your mat. And make sure you're lifting through the inside of your thighs more than the outside. One more big breath in. And exhale to lower, release your effort. And wag your tail. Beautiful, we'll add our arms. So same thing with the legs, but we'll bring our arms out in front of us, straight arms, pinkies down, palms face each other. Start with your forehead down and start with the action in your legs. Point back through your toes, straighten your legs so much that quads are engaging, glutes are engaging as the feet start to lift. Reach back and lift. Good, then lift your head. Plug that chin down towards your throat and reach through your fingers so much that your elbows start to lift up. See if you can reach through your fingers without shrugging your shoulders towards your ears. Two more breaths. Inhale, lift one more space higher, and exhale, lower down. Wagging your tail, release your lower back. And we'll bring hands next to rib cage. Curl your toes under. See if you can float into tabletop with hips and chest at the same time. Good, if that's not happening today, no big deal. Downward facing dog or child's pose. Once you're there, take a few breaths. Let your spine realign itself. And then any optional movement, vinyasa or stillness. Good, we'll meet in a standing forward fold. Take your time to get there and get there in your own way. Good, once you've found that forward fold, let's inhale for half lift. Little bend in your knees. I like hands to shins to actively push my shins away and lengthen my spine. And take a couple of breaths here. Draw your shoulder blades back. Reach your tailbone back and the crown of your head forward. Strong core. Bring your hands to your hips. Keep your head and chest where it is, just for a moment. And then reach your elbows back, root to rise. Elbows lead the way. Good, standing up tall for a moment. Take a breath. All right, tree pose. Bring a little more weight into your left foot. Start to turn your right toes out to open that right hip. And maybe set your heel on your ankle, or start to lift that right foot to inner calf. Maybe help it along very slowly to inner thigh. Good, hands can stay on hips or palms touch. Keep your gaze very steady. And bring attention to the big toe mound of your left foot. See if you can glue the big toe mound down into your mat. Several more breaths to play. Options might be raise your arms overhead. If this feels really easy, then let your gaze wander. Maybe let your head move as your gaze wanders around the room. Keep that big toe mound attempting to glue down. It's not going to all the time cooperate. It's just a practice. And if arms are raised, hands back to center first. Gaze at something fixed and release your feet, shake it out. Awesome, other side. So choosing today if those left toes will stay on the earth and just opening the hips a little bit, external rotation. Or if we're gonna work a little bit more on balance, we'll raise that foot off the earth. Good, wherever it feels appropriate today. Hands can stay wherever feels steady. Good, I love all the expressions I'm seeing, great job. Keep that breath steady and that big toe mound this time on the right foot. See if you can glue it down. Remembering if we kind of float in and out of the pose, that's the practice. It's perfect. If we've done this a long time and we're really comfortable in tree pose, maybe start to let that gaze wander around. Nice and slow to start. See how it feels. Maybe add movement of your head. Pretty slow. And then fixing the gaze, hands to center, somewhere centered, and then release. Shake it out. Good. Last couple active things here. So any distance between your feet, we're going to do big arm circles, forward, up, back, and down. So make sure you've got plenty of space around you. And you can start nice and slow, a little buoyancy in the knees. And then let's add our breath to this. So inhaling forward and up, exhaling back and down. Maybe add a little speed, increase the capacity of arms, capacity of breath. Now let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, reach your hands back behind you. Maybe find yoga mudra. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Straighten your arms as much as you can and fold forward. Feet can be nice and wide, and let your head rest in your pose. Deep bend into your right knee, and then turn your torso and gaze to the left. So bend the right knee, turn to the left. Inhale to center, straight legs. Exhale, bend through your left knee and turn to the right. Big breath in and out. Good, come back to center, bend your knees, release your hands slowly down. And inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And any final vinyasas or organic movement that feels appropriate here, take your time. Let's meet all the way in a seat. And grab your blanket or towel, whichever you have. We're going to create a roll with this. We'll use our roll to do some myofascial release for an area that's just under our armpit, like a full hand's distance down from the armpit. Bottom tip of the shoulder blade and the little forward and the little back. Basically the side of the ribs here. There's some muscles there that like the attention. So we'll create a relatively wide roll with our blanket. And then set it down next to you. I'm going to turn my screen down a little bit so you can see better. You'll know if you need to adjust that roll in some way. Bring your right hand to the top of your mat or wherever your roll is in front of it. And start to lay down just like we did before, side lying. And lay all the way down so that that roll takes up that space just below the armpit, about a full hand's distance down from the armpit. Good, and maybe you cradle your head with your right hand. You can even prop yourself up on your right elbow if that feels better. And before we add our movement, breathe pretty deep into the space where you're laying on your roll. So into your right armpit, into your right rib cage. If your roll feels too thin, like you can't really get the sensation of feeling, then widen it a little bit. You can even double it up. So if it's a really long skinny roll, you can just kind of fold it in half long ways and go again. You could also do this with a block. I find a blanket is more forgiving. So we're breathing deeply to start. Seeing how that informs sensation in this area. And then a gentle movement just forward and back. So we're leaning our weight a little bit back in space toward the back body. And then leaning our weight forward in space toward leaning the chest forward. We're just rocking back and forth on our roll. And as we do this, continue to breathe deep into the spaces that you feel sensation around. And if anything is very uncomfortable, then just ditch it. Remove that blanket and just breathe into the space. No need to push ourselves or our bodies further than we want to go. Nice, we're going to switch sides when you're ready. You can just prop yourself up and turn around to your left side. If your roll got a little smushed, you might kind of poof it back up like you would with your pillow. And then once again, find that placement about a small hand's distance under the armpit. Propping yourself up in a comfortable way, maybe on your elbow or laying head along your bicep. Start in stillness and breathe. And start to add little rocking movement back and forth. And breathing deeply into that left rib cage, left lung as you move. Inviting a sense of exploration, curiosity. Knowing that there's no should, there's no way that this should feel except not painful. We're just here to make a connection between this area and our brain, between our breath and our body. Take your time to pause your movement and slowly prop yourself back to seated. And then we'll come onto our backs once again. Could unroll your blanket and use that as a pillow once you get there. And a couple options here. If you would like a happy baby, or maybe stillness with feet together, knees wide, Baddha Konasana. Or if there is some other movement you're craving, we'll find that for the next minute or so. You could choose a combination of things that just feel like medicine. And as you're winding down your practice, recalling if you did set an intention at the beginning, recalling what that intention was without any internal dialogue about it or judgment, just reconnecting in the presence of that dedication. And we'll slowly start to find our Shavasana relaxation pose. Letting ourselves be very comfortable. Letting the last effort be to simply notice the exhale without changing it at all. Allow awareness to ride the exhale and the natural pause at the bottom of breath. And let that gentle awareness fall away on its own as you come to rest. If you have the time, feel free to stay right here. Or start to wiggle fingers and toes as you deepen your breath. Finding bigger movements with bigger breaths. In your own time, making your way to a seat. All the while keeping the space and place of your relaxation. And if you join us from a seat, you could bring your palms together in a gesture of respect and gratitude. Knowing that your respect for all beings comes first from a deep respect for yourself. And that cultivating that is to cultivate respect for all. I respect each of you, and I thank you for being here. Namaste.